The American Cotton Shippers Association, also known as AXA, is a trade association primarily made up of cotton merchants, founded in 1924. AXA members manage the majority of the cotton trade, providing merchandising, delivery logistics, and risk management services to their customers. AXA is grateful to Senator Cindy Hyde Smith of Mississippi for introducing the Buying American Cotton Act of 2025, which will build structural demand for U.S. cotton. Since the bill's introduction, there have been 8 additional senators co-sponsor. AXA urges all cotton industry stakeholders to support this initiative by reaching out to your congressional delegation and requesting their support for this legislation.
Well, hello out there in the Cotton Belt. Before we get started with today's episode, I wanted to share an important update with our audience. After many years working with Cotton Grower and hosting this very podcast, our friend and longtime colleague Jim Stedman has transitioned from his role. Jim's work has shaped the conversation around cotton for years, and his voice has helped connect the industry in meaningful ways. We are deeply grateful for everything that he has done for the brand and for the cotton community at large, and we sincerely wish him the best in whatever comes next. So, moving forward, I am going to be taking on the role of host of this podcast and editorial lead. For those who don't know me, I am Beck Barnes. I grew up on a Mississippi Delta cotton farm before beginning my career in agriculture with Cotton Grower way back in 2008. So I'm truly honored to continue this work, and man, we got a lot of fun stuff planned for you. Our commitment to you as listeners and as growers of this crop stays the same. We want to bring you relevant, practical, and trusted insight on everything that's happening in cotton. We're going to keep building on what's made this podcast special, while also adding new ways for you to stay informed and connected. Lastly, I want to say thank you to my friend and colleague, Jim Stedman. We worked together for 17 years. And his voice is always going to be a part of this brand. His legacy will always be a part of this brand. Now, let's get into today's episode. So, all right, welcome to the 201st episode of the Cotton Companion podcast. As I said, I am Beck Barnes, the editor of Cotton Grower magazine, and I am joining you on this, our Thanksgiving season edition of the Cotton Companion. Yeah, it'll be Thanksgiving will come and go before the next time we check in with you. So we want to say happy Thanksgiving to you. We know that we've got a lot to be thankful for here in the U.S. cotton industry. It has been a busy and newsy past couple of weeks since we last talked to y'all, including the small matter of the United States federal government deciding they should probably get back to work. They reopened back around November 12, which meant a lot of good things for the cotton industry, increased cash flow, certainly ARC, PLC type stuff. I assume that you guys are all aware of that, so we're not going to go deep into that. For our purposes today, what we're going to talk about is crop progress, and we're going to have a nice little update from the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol. After that, we're going to get into the real meat and potatoes of this episode for our listeners this week. We are going to be bringing you an interview with Mr. John Devine. He is the senior economist with Cotton Incorporated. He's going to give us the latest intel on this cotton market and all the things that Cotton Incorporated is up to these days. But first, we want to welcome the Cotton Board as a supporting sponsor of this podcast. Christy Short, who is the Southwest Regional Communications Manager for the Cotton Board, recently sat down with our own custom content manager, Hillary Wynn, about some of the board's latest activities. We're going to bring you that custom interview right now.
Hi, I'm Hillary Wynn, Custom Content Manager at Meister Media Worldwide, publisher of Cotton Grower magazine. Joining me today to discuss the Cotton Board's Producer Tour program is Christy Short, Southwest Regional Communications Manager for the Cotton Board. Christy is responsible for outreach across Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California. Her role involves engaging growers and industry stakeholders through presentations, farm tours, and social media content to highlight the impact of the Cotton Research and Promotion Program. Christy, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Christy, can you tell us about the Cotton Board's Producer Tour program?
I would love to. For several years, the producer tour program is really the flagship, the shining star program at the Cotton Board for our producer outreach and transparency efforts. This unique program allows attendees to travel to Cotton Incorporated to see how their research and promotion dollars are being utilized to create demand for cotton. Participants spend about a day listening to Cotton Incorporated key staff explain research and developments in their specialized area and department of work, as well as visiting the innovative laboratories located inside the research facility headquarters in Cary, North Carolina. The second day, we spend a morning at a local textile mill in North Carolina to see cotton being processed and manufactured into a commercial product. It's also a great opportunity to network with growers and industry partners across the cotton belt, as each tour usually has representation from almost every single cotton producing state. The Cotton Board covers travel expenses for the grower and their spouse or guest to attend the 2-night, 3-day program and hopes they leave with a renewed confidence and understanding of the work being done on their behalf.
It really seems like an incredible opportunity for participants to see the program in action.
Yes, I love the program. It's one of my favorite things that we do at the Cotton Board throughout the year.
What are some of the takeaways from participants who go on a tour?
Of course, our main goal is education, awareness, and understanding of the different areas of the research and promotion program. Cotton Incorporated focuses on ag research, mill and textile product innovation and research, consumer and supply chain marketing, sustainability, and outreach efforts throughout the cotton industry. It's our goal during the producer tour program to show these innovative research ideas and projects and marketing campaigns that help move the needle on cotton demand and consumption. We also have 2 networking dinners during the tour where growers get to meet and mingle and create friendships with other participants on the tour, as well as some industry sponsors and partners that help make these tours possible. And I'll also say the opportunity to visit a spinning mill is really truly a unique opportunity for many participants, as we often don't know or don't see or don't really understand the side of the cotton industry after the farm, after harvest, after ginning. It's a unique opportunity to get a visit a spinning mill in the United States and more or less to visit with their staff and a lot of their different operation managers while we're there at the spinning mill in North Carolina.
I bet that kind of firsthand experience really makes a difference.
It really does. And we hear from producer tour participants while they love the whole tour program. Some of their most exciting part is the friendships they've made, seeing the spinning mill. Like I said, it's such a unique opportunity these days, but then also open their eyes to areas that they didn't even know Cotton Incorporated worked on.
Do you have any upcoming tours and how can people sign up?
We do. We have 3 tours scheduled for 2026. So I'm glad you asked. We have a tour February 8th through the 10th. March 15th through the 17th, and June 7th through the 9th, all in 2026. The February and the March tours are for men and women both, and the June tour is our signature Women in Ag tour. So ladies only, sorry guys. If you are interested in attending, they can reach out to their regional communications manager, myself, Shelly, Daniel, or Grant. If you want to learn more about the tours, feel free to reach out to us. You can also learn more on our website, cottonboard.org/producer tours. If you aren't sure who your regional communication manager is, or if you just want some general information, I'd be happy for you to reach out to me and I'll answer your questions or get you pointed in the right direction to get signed up or registered for the tours. My email is cshort@cottonboard.org.
Christy, thanks so much for taking the time to talk with me today.
You're welcome. Thanks for the opportunity.
All right. Major thank you to Hillary and to Christy for that segment and to the Cotton Board for their support of the Cotton Companion podcast. Now, as I mentioned before, some brief newsy items before we bring you that aforementioned John Devine market analysis. For those of y'all who are still curious about this crop progress, you no doubt know that it's done progressed. Most of it's done progressed as much as it's going to progress. But according to USDA data, 71% of the U.S. crop has now been harvested. Harvest is being aided by ideal conditions, drier conditions across much of the Southwest, and that has crop progress speeding up. We are speeding towards the finish line, no doubt, as a nation. Anecdotally, I'll tell you, I had a very tough time getting a hold of a gin manager out there on the high plains this week that I needed to talk to. So for what that's worth, I know they're blowing and going out there. And yeah, this crop's days in the field are numbered. Finally, just this week, the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol released their 2024/25 annual report. that summarize the key progress that the Trust Protocol has made in the past year. Some key takeaways from that impressive report include, let's see, for the sixth straight year, the Cotton Trust Protocol saw record growth in terms of grower enrollment and acreage enrollment. That grower membership number is up 14%, up to 1,512 growers enrolled in the Cotton Trust Protocol. Impressive. Acreage also increasing by 18%. They're up in acreage, up to 2.58 million acres. Now, I am famously not a mathematician, but 2.5 million acres, that feels like what they're saying is nearly a quarter, maybe more than a quarter of given the year. All U.S. acres are enrolled in the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol, which is an amazing accomplishment for that program. Congrats to all involved, especially those growers. Now, what about in terms of their yield gain and resource efficiency? Let's see, protocol growers increased their land use efficiency by 15%, hitting the 2025 goal a full year early. Congratulations on that. Even facing increasing drought pressure, the protocol growers are now producing the same amount of cotton using 47% less water from irrigation than they were doing in 2015. That is an 87% improvement in water use efficiency. Similarly, in the arena of soil health, soil erosion declined 89% since 2015, and soil carbon indicators shifted positively, confirming that our growers are actively building healthier soil. U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol growers, I should say. Now, the USCTP is also doing a tremendous job of increasing downstream demand for this crop. According to this week's release, the program's traceability system saw a 413% year-over-year increase in protocol consumption unit uptake. That's the rate at which brands are using the Cotton Trust Protocol system to track their own cotton consumption. This year saw 20 brands tracking 126,000 tons of Trust Protocol fiber, translating to 690 million finished products. Wow. So, congrats to all those who work on and with the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol. Those are some impressive increases. Okay, now it is time to bring y'all our special guest for today's episode, Mr. John Devine. John is the senior economist in Corporate Strategy and Program Metrics Division there at Cotton Incorporated. John did his undergrad schooling over at the University of North Carolina at Wilmington. He studied economics and environmental studies there, and he finished up with a grad degree at the University of Maine before joining the Cotton Board in 2008. John, you've been there for a while. We're happy about that, and man, I'm happy to have you with us today. Welcome to the Cotton Companion.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to have the opportunity.
Yeah, I've been a little familiar with you, John. I've actually heard you in doing some prep for this interview. I got to go back and listen to some of the talks that you've given on there at the Cotton Board's, what do they call it, Cotton and Coffee morning time events that they host. And I know you are as sharp as they come and as informed as they come. So happy to have you here. The first thing, John, that I wanted to do was get you to tell us, just tell me and our audience a little bit about your role there at Cotton Inc. What are some of the work activities that you get up to on behalf of our cotton producers?
Sure, yeah. So, once again, I'm an economist at Cotton Incorporated. So, primary role is to track the fiber market and try and understand what's going on with cotton prices. So, we look at a wide range of data, of course, from all the supply and demand figures that are out there, as well as zooming in on some trade data. But, I've been doing this for a long time. Really grateful for the opportunity. I've been with the company 17 years now. Primarily, a lot of the interactions I've had with industry has been on the retailer and brand side, trying to introduce them to the cotton market and some of the forces that can move prices around, which of course means it's moving their costs around. These discussions, I think, are helpful for an industry in that they can help provide, some context for what goes on the agricultural side to what's happening at the retailer and brand side. And it also provides, these meetings that provide some opportunity for our marketing teams to get in the door to help talk to retailers and brands and to talk about some of the exciting things that the cotton industry has been doing. So that's sort of how my role sort of started. Some of the things that I do to get out there, we do the Cotton and Coffee with the Cotton Board at least once a year. Regular publications, we have a monthly economic letter, which is available on the Cotton Incorporated website. So if you would like to be on that distribution, please sign up for it up there. We do have some other economic publications we put out. One that's sort of macro focused is the Executive Cotton Update, also available each month without charge if there is interest. So there's a few things that we do, just try to be accessible to anyone out there in the industry that may have an interest, and certainly delighted that you guys had an interest and to be able to join the Cotton Companion here today.
Yeah, that's great. John, I know that 2025 has been a tough year, and I get a lot of questions from, I grew up in the Mississippi Delta, so I got farming buddies who think that I'm some type of market expert, which I chuckle at. I can read the same reports that guys like you make as well as they can, but obviously interest in the market is at a high when we've had the market that we've kind of a stagnant market that we've been looking at for quite a while here in the cotton industry, and it seems like the way that you are offering help is to keep these guys informed. Is that accurate to say?
Yeah, we try to keep informed. I mean, obviously, we can't move the market. If we could, we would. Certainly where it is right now. But, we try to keep our producers informed and, also trying to keep our retailers and brands informed. Lower prices certainly is something that we don't want our growers to experience. But on the demand side, it does offer some opportunity as well. These low and stable prices are something that can help hopefully win us back some market share relative to polyester. And of course, these lower prices are something that we advertise to importers and brands and how they can look at cotton as an option that's affordable and can meet some of the objectives they need in terms of selling clothes.
Yeah. Well, you're kind of jumping into, a little bit of what I wanted to talk about. This week, I've seen a lot of headlines that are indicating that world supply is getting a boost from all of this ideal weather that we've had at harvest time here in the Northern Hemisphere, at least, and at home and elsewhere around the world, they've had good harvests. So what can you tell us about that November WASDE report that came out a few days ago and other indicators, fundamental indicators from around the world?
Yeah, so obviously, we're coming back from a little bit of a break. We had a miss in October with the government shutdown, so a little bit of a gap in our data, which maybe made some of the numbers in November a little bit bigger than they would have been in terms of the changes that we saw. But we did have some decent weather this year. We did get some more moisture, importantly, out there in West Texas, which helped make our crop a little bit bigger in terms of lower abandonment, but also yields notably coming up, as you pointed out here, relative to where we were in September. So we are looking at a bigger crop here at home. We're also going to get some bigger crops from other locations too. Among the other major changes that the USDA made this month, there was a bump in production from Brazil, which of course isn't helpful for the market because they're one of our major competitors on the export front. And then the other major change in terms of production was for China, where they upped their production by 1 million bales, which of course is not a trivial amount. And, that matters on the import side, where China being one of our biggest importers traditionally, if they've got more cotton at home, they may be less inclined to buy it abroad from locations such as us here in the U.S.
Yeah, that's good intel, John. I wonder, are we watching anything now? I mentioned that we've been stagnant for a while. I learned that from a talk I heard you give at Cotton and Coffee back in September, I believe it was. But so we've been in this stagnant trading window. Is there anything we are watching now between now and planting season that could move that price needle one direction or the other?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big curveball that's out there is what might happen on the policy front. Of course, we've had a lot of changes to trade policy here, in 2025. And, it remains to be seen exactly what might pan out, specifically for ag and how that maybe could help support ag sales or cotton sales. There's been a lot of deals or frameworks for deals that have come out over the past few weeks. Almost all of those deals or frameworks for deals have mentioned, support for lowering barriers for U.S. exports. And there has been some mention of targeting U.S. export sales, specifically for soybeans as an example. Cotton has come up a time or two, but there hasn't been any numbers around, any targeted sales for cotton. But that's something I think that we'll continue to watch. And I think that could be the big curveball factor if we did see something like a phase one deal start to surface from somewhere, if we did see potentially several of those deals start to surface from different locations. So I think that is one curveball that potentially could help out the market here over the next few months. The likelihood of that, I don't really know. I'm just a simple numbers guy, but just want to put that out there that there maybe could be some support on the policy front. We just don't know from where exactly yet.
I'm glad you added that qualifier there, because I was for sure about to ask you if we think that cotton is on the table with a country like China right now. I have seen that to your point, I think CAFTA was the Central American country trade deal that went through just last week, and there was something else on the table with Vietnam that I may have missed it today or yesterday, but seemed imminent. So yeah, the trade deals, I hear you, are going to hopefully be a boost to us. John, you mentioned that part of your job is also communicating to the brands, to retail on the demand side, I should say. Are there any opportunities in the near term that could boost consumption here in the U.S. and abroad? I mean, or in terms of the brand's interest in our crop?
Yeah, I mean, not to sound like a broken record, but almost the same answer too. I mean, it's also on the policy front, you know.
Yeah.
So retailers and brands are on the other side of the coin, and they're looking at, paying higher duty rates on the products that they're bringing into the country. Something that they're focused on right now is, the hearings that have been going on in the Supreme Court, seeing what may happen in terms of decision coming out there. Of course, the timing, we don't know. Some of the legal folks have been saying it could be a matter of weeks. Some have been saying it could be a matter of months. But if we did see the needle potentially move in terms of affecting retailers and brands' costs, or if they had some more confidence about where their cost equation might go, that's something that maybe give them more confidence about putting some more orders through the pipe.
Yeah. This may be a silly and uninformed question. I should preface all my questions with that. Does Christmas time offer any tangible impact on cotton prices for our guys?
Well, I think it can. I mean, it's the biggest, shopping season. So it's when consumers put out the most dollars for everything, including apparel. So it can be a good barometer in terms of where the market is. When you take a look at the retailer and brand side of things and the way that timing works out, the lead times are relatively long. So they'll start planning their orders usually about a year out. So if you do see a particularly strong, holiday sales period, it could be a signal for them to put more orders in, but we might not necessarily see those products show up, at least on U.S. shelves, till about a year down the road. But of course, before that happens, you do see, spinning. That fiber has to be turned into yarn before it gets turned into garments. So you can see some potential uptick in demand, depending on where the consumer is at holiday. But of course, that all ties in some of the other factors we look at too, like what's going on with GDP and sort of consumer spending at large as well. So it does matter, but it's just, one of those one of several variables that we look at.
Yeah, John, I tell you, you've answered the next questions that I had lined up were about what we should be looking for in 2026 that could maybe impact this market. And what I keep hearing you say is it's a lot of the trade policy stuff is going to be important. So I'd pivot from that and just ask you, and this may be a loaded question or a lengthy response question, but yeah, with respect to that window, it seems like we've been trading in between, I don't know, 60 cents and 70 cents since middle of 24, maybe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Can you just talk about this window, this price window that we've been trading in for what seems like over a year and a half, and what has held it there?
Yeah, I mean, so we've got a couple factors. I think, one is that we're sort of in this hangover period economically coming out of, the stimulus environment that we had coming out of COVID. So, coming out of that period, of course, demand was strong because there was a lot of money sloshing around. Things tightened up and they tightened up pretty quick. And then we're in this sort of period where things were pulled back instead of, stimulus euphoria. It was sort of sobriety around inflation, interest rates, and worry about recession. And that, took us a good bit lower. We did get a little bit of a bump in prices. Get back to early 24 from strong Chinese buying, but we've also got a little bit of a hangover there too, in that China built up its government supplies. China's been having some decent domestic crops, and their import demand has pulled back too. So all that sort of relates to the demand side. And I think, from the demand side, we are looking at, some more challenging conditions, I think, going forward too. Global economic growth is expected to be pretty flat. I don't think there's a lot of appetite out there for stimulus of really any form right now, which may keep a lid on economic growth and therefore on demand from that angle. But something we haven't touched on is the supply side, and I think there may be some potential for changes there too. When we take a look at global exportable supply, we're one of several major exporters that are out there. Of course, another big one is Brazil, and then another is Australia. And when we take a look at Brazil and Australia, both of these countries don't have a lot of government support behind their producers. So we are in a lower price environment, at some point we might see some acreage shake out from both of those countries. And if we do see that happen, and depending on the extent that that happens, there may be some ability for this market to tighten up a little bit and eventually get some price support. But a lot of questions about that. Brazil's been ramping up their acres in production over the past decade or more, and I think this would be the first really significant price test that they've had in a while, at least coming out of COVID with higher input costs. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. In Australia, they are dependent on rainfall for irrigation. They're nearly completely irrigated. They've been drying up a little bit. In addition to the price effects, they may have some water availability issues that could bring their production down a little bit. And all this is to say is that if we do have a little bit less competition out there on the export side, that's something that could help us out a little bit.
Yeah. So who blinks first? Which countries' growers blink first? What I'm hearing you say could impact next year. I would be remiss. We have other economists on, and I hold their feet to the fire with my last question, somewhat jokingly, but maybe you have some input here. If you had to guess, John, do you think that we break out in an upward trajectory out of this trading window that seems like our ceiling has been 70 cents? Correct me if I'm wrong, for quite a bit. Do you think that 2026 could be the year that we break out of there?
I think, it depends. I think my outlook on the market is probably looking for some more of the same. Optimistically, if we do see some production cuts in Brazil and Australia, I think we could get there. If we do see some positive development somehow on the demand side, either through, some policies encouraging sales of U.S. cotton, or if we do see economic growth pick up somehow, I think we could pull up to the upside. But I think an encouraging thing that's out there is that despite the challenges we've had, we haven't seen the market move lower. So I think, generally flat to maybe a little bit higher is what we could look for the outlook. But that being said, I'm not trying to put too rosy a picture on it. There's a lot of cotton out there right now. We need to get some of the supply tightened up, I think, until we can get the market taking some sustained steps higher.
Very good. An honest answer. I appreciate that. I've yet to be able to bully any of our economy analysts into being overly rosy. So you've passed the test. You did good. John, man, I sure appreciate you making time for us and joining us today. I know you're out there in Cary, North Carolina, and you're a busy man out there at Cotton Incorporated. So we thank you for all that you do for our industry.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, sir. You can come back and join us anytime.
Sounds good. Look forward to it.
Okay, well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Cotton Companion podcast. We want to say thank you again to John Devine for sharing his vast amount of market knowledge with us. We want to say thanks to our sponsors, the American Cotton Shippers Association, and to the Cotton Board, and to the Cotton Board's Christy Short for spending some time with us today. And as always, we want to thank you, dear listener, for joining us and for your continued support. We hope that you've enjoyed this episode, and if you did like what you heard, please be sure and spread the word. Evangelize for the Cotton Companion podcast to your friends and farming neighbors. Here's where and how they can find us.
You can find the Cotton Companion in 3 easy ways. First, go to cottongrower.com/companion, or simply click the podcast tab at the top of the homepage. Second, subscribe to our channel on iTunes or wherever you find your podcasts these days. And 3, sign up for our weekly e-newsletter, the Cotton Grower e-News, that's delivered to your email inbox every Tuesday morning. You can do that by going to cottongrower.com/subscribe. Also, be sure to follow Cotton Grower on social media. We are at Cotton Grower Mag on Twitter. And on Facebook, you'll find us by searching for Cotton Grower Magazine.
The Cotton Companion podcast is produced by Mr. Tyler Hatch and Miss Kim Henderson, our talented colleagues at the world headquarters for Meister Media Worldwide in lovely Willoughby, Ohio. I am Beck Barnes, and we will be back with you in a couple of weeks with the next episode of the Cotton Companion. Until then, kick those feet up and rest once you've got that 2025 crop out of the field. You have earned it.
Don't cut any corners, 'cause God made me a farmer. Yeah, he works and he works and he works and he works all day. God made a farmer.